Next set of notes. I believe this is part 3 of our video notes, right?
No, part 2.
Well, we did 1 with the notes, then we did 1 through 3. Now this is my 3rd video, believe it or not. I've been recording if you haven't noticed. Create a perpendicular bisector to LM. I hope you remember what perpendicular means. You don't remember. Perpendicular means creates a right angle. Creates a right angle. So how many degrees is that? And do you remember what the word bisector means? Cuts into 2 congruent pieces. In case you didn't know. So we have perpendicular, which creates a right angle, and it cuts into 2 congruent pieces. Now, how are we going to do a 90-degree angle if we do not have a protractor? This is how we're going to do it.
Do you create an angle, like a arc?
We are going to create some arcs. Now, here's what I put into your notes. Always label your centers. Sometimes you have to create your own rays. That was kind of what we did for the first 3 problems. Now we're going to look for 2 equidistant points away from your center. On number 4, we have 2 points. I have point L and I have point M. What I want you to do is I want you to put your bullseye on L. And I want you to open up your slider to be more than halfway to M. And I want you to write yourself a little bit of a note here. This is more than halfway. Just to make a little note to yourself so when you go to your independent, you'll remember, oh, I got to go more than halfway. What does that mean? That means I have my bullseye on L, and this holder is more than halfway close to M. It could be 3/4 of the way, it could be 5/6 of the way, it could be 7/8 of the way, it doesn't matter. As long as it's more than halfway. It could even be past M if I want to. And what I want you to do, if you're more than halfway, is I want you to make a big, gigantic semicircle like that. What you have now done is you've created a distance that is the same distance away from L. We have an arc away from L. L was our center. We did all this from L. Where do you think I'm going to put the bullseye next?
On the other side.
Where you started this, or where you made the point of the...
Right here, where M is.
And then go the same distance away.
So if M is now my bullseye, if that's where my center is, and I have the same distance, what we're going to get is...
2 half circles.
This thing that kind of looks like
Half a circle.
a fish, maybe. I'm not sure. Look at tail, fish, or this way.
Candy wrapper.
Okay. Or the inside of a Venn diagram, maybe.
It looks like DNA.
You guys don't see that. I would though. Okay. Now that you have that, you have 2 X's. You have this intersection up here. And you have this intersection down here. These 2 intersections, we always label them. Let's call that if I connect these 2 intersections from here, this as one of my X's and this as the other, and I use the straight edge. Let's do that. Draw a line through the 2 intersections. And if you want to know how we did this, we went more than halfway on our slider. We did a center at L, and then we did a center at M, and then we connected the two X's. Right? What this is, I don't know if you know this or not, this is a perfect right angle. How can I check? On the side of my ruler here, where if I put the bullseye there and 0 there, I could see that this goes in a perfect right angle and hits that black line. That's 90 degrees if I did this correctly. The other thing that I can check is this distance from here to M, how many centimeters is it?
3.
And let's go the other place, from L to the line. How many centimeters is it?
3.
I bisected it into 2 congruent pieces. So here's how we mark it. It's perpendicular, and this is congruent
And then
to that. Let's go to number 4.
5.
Number 5. Thank you. Now here's the difference between number 5 and number 4. Number 4, I had 2 points that were the same distance apart. When I go over to number 5, I do not have 2 points. I only have 1 point. And I have to create a perpendicular through point K. Blake, we don't do that. Okay. We have to create a perpendicular through point K. So if I'm trying to go through this point, I need to have, let me look at what my notes say. Look for 2 equidistant points away from your center. I don't have 2.
Let's make them.
If not, we're going to have to create them. So how do I create 2 equidistant points? Let's put our bullseye on K and adjust our slider so that the holder is going to intersect this line somewhere. Doesn't matter how far, as long as the holder touches the line somewhere. So I need, got K. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a point here. And on the other side. What I have now are 2 points that are exactly the same distance apart from K, and I know where it intersects this line. Let's label these points. Let's label this point J. Let's label this point L. I now know that J is the same distance away from K as K is from L. Now guess what happens? Now that we have this, it's going to turn into this problem. You have the 2 points now that you can create the perpendicular. Do you remember how to do it from here? So, what do I have to do with my slider? We wrote it down over on the other one. Adjust the slider to more than halfway. Do you agree?
Yeah.
There we go. Tighten it up. And my bullseye goes on J. What do I do next? A nice big semicircle. Where does the bullseye go next?
On L.
Good job. If you said L. What do I do next?
Same length.
Same holder. Now what's amazing about this, because we did and followed all those steps, what do you think's going to happen now?
It's
You
gonna
see the
line
2
up on
X's?
K.
What are we supposed to do last? Look for this X marks the spot, this X marks the spot. What do we do last? Connect them using your straight edge. And guess, oops, I was off just a little bit. Let me try to get through there a little bit better. Did I go through point K? Does it look perpendicular to you? You can always check if you wanted to. I still have my protractor. Let me check and see real quick. Wow, that's pretty good. 90 degrees right there. What do you know? Feels pretty good. We've now done number 5. So here's the deal. On this one, we had 2 equidistant points we made from more than halfway. On this one, we didn't have that, so we had to create 2 equidistant points first. Now we go to the third one. Number 6. Create a perpendicular through point P. What if it's not on the line? Well, we are going to have to create 2 equidistant points on the line. How are we going to do that? The very first thing. Point P is right here. Guess where your bullseye is going to go?
On point P.
Almost every single time, whatever point's given to you, that's where the bullseye goes.
I knew it.
What you need to make sure is your holder going to touch the black line? If it's not, you need to make sure that your holder is over or is going to intersect the black line in more than one spot. Don't be too short. So I got my holder, and what I'm going to do is to drop an arc from point P, creating this semicircle from point P. Do you have 2 equidistant points now on the line? Is this the same distance away from P as this is the same distance from P? Let's label those 2 points. Let's label this one J and this one L. Why am I calling that J and L? Because then it becomes the same problem as it was above it in 5 and the same problem that we had in 4. Do you know where your bullseye is going next?
On J.
And what do I have to do with my slider this time before I start?
More than half.
More than halfway. Adjust it to where I get more than halfway. Where does my bullseye go next? Good. And then magically we have this weird drawing which looks like
A bird.
a banana with his hands up.
Also, looks like
No, it looks
corn.
like a turnip with its hand up.
A what?
We're almost done. Last thing. What do I do next? What do I do next?
Get the cowboy people going.
We connect.
Connect this X marks the spot with that X marks the spot. I usually try to put my pin on it. Does it go through P?
Yes.
Is it perpendicular? Yes, it is. It's not a bisector, but it is perpendicular. We're going to stop our notes right there.